we played a soundbite of Bill Belichick being asked if Stephon Gilmore was there, and he said, "Well, we haven't checked in yet. We don't know." I think he was talking about the weather was bad. People were either in or not. They didn't know. But there was one intrepid reporter who refused to let that stand. A follow-up question had to be asked, and that was by Tom Curran. Give a listen.
You understand how the operation works. We don't see people out there at mandatory minicamp. Are you saying let's not go over the barricades here if it's not that big a deal, in other words?
No, I'm saying today's the first day. They just got in here a little while ago. I'm not sure if everybody is here. We didn't take attendance at the meeting, but we'll find out, who's here and who isn't soon enough.
All right, thank you.
That includes the players that were here last week and the players that weren't here last week and everything else.
All right, so let's take attendance. Chris Brockman, are you here?
Present.
T.J. Jefferson, are you here? Are you here, T.J.
Present.
Jefferson? Okay, Mike Del Tufo, are
Present.
you here? Tom Curran, are you here?
Yo!
I'll take that as a present, Tom. Do I take that as a present?
This was, as it turns out, no Stephon Gilmore today. Also no Chase Winovich nor Byron Cowart. So there were three absences.
What's going on?
Gilmore being the most noteworthy, Rich, because, he is paid $7.5 million, and the best guys at the position are making close to 18, and Steph has averaged $14 million over the course of his contract. Last year of the contract, 31 years old, torn quad, wants more dough. What are we going to do?
Why aren't the other guys there, Tom?
Weather.
Huh. So
I mean, that was, to me, and you know Bill very well.
Yes.
I know Bill very well. We've both observed him for a long time. To make it sound like the Patriots are suddenly the kid running down the driveway with his book bag open and chewing on a donut and heading for the bus at the beginning of minicamp is a huge stretch. They're very organized. They know everybody is there. I mean, Malcolm Butler showed up late because his flight was delayed for OTAs in 2015, and they didn't put him on the field for 3 weeks, and that was after the Super Bowl pick. Come on, Bill. Weather. It's okay, though.
Okay, so do we get over the barricades, to use your phrase here, or what do you think?
I just think that our ears perk up and we peek over them, see what's going on. And to me, when we look at this, I think Bill saying that is an indication that he doesn't really feel like ratcheting things up at the moment. He understands what Steph's gripe is, but he's coming off a torn quad that cost him the last 5 games of the season. He had surgery. Before he gets any kind of a bump, and he did get a bump last year, he's going to need to show up and show that he can run on it. And if he wants an extension, he's definitely going to need to show up and show that. He wants to be here, is my definitive understanding. Stephon Gilmore does not want to leave the Patriots. So I would call it, can we say impasse instead of loggerheads?
Yes, we can. We can use whatever phrase you'd like, but
Not loggerheads.
No, but you know, again, we're at that part of the NFL, year and season where it's like, is this real or not?
Right.
And even Cam's injury from a couple of weeks ago, is this real or not? And no, I don't say that he was faking it, but I mean, like, is this significant enough to affect something that happens in the fall or not? And it looks like that's the or not, that he's back in the mix.
Yeah, and he didn't have a great practice today. Rainy day out here in New England, rainy in Boston, and he labored a bit. He was the least accurate of the three. Hoyer didn't throw much, so Mac Jones had a good practice, and Stidham was pretty accurate, and Cam, was a little bit erratic to the point where he was frustrated and kind of thrown off to the side. Now, is that rain? Is that thumb? Is that just Cam? Hard to say, but we're going to enter a period of time over the next 2 days with this minicamp where we're kind of watching how he throws, because this is a legitimate competition.
How's this? Walk me through what the competition is. I mean, what does it really look like? Or when you say competition, that it could be Stidham's gig, like week one, they re-signed Cam and they draft a quarterback in the first round for the first time since Bledsoe, and it could wind up being Jarrett Stidham anyway. Literally, is what you're saying.
The other guy.
Hoyer?
No, the other guy.
Who's the other guy?
Mac Jones. They are agog. I used agog and loggerheads. They are agog.
Why? What do you mean?
He's just, the word is, the sense is that he is further along than any rookie quarterback they've had pass through the system, period, since 2000. He just gets what he's expected to do, and because he's shown this ability and the aptitude, they are putting a lot on him already in the passing camp and in the minicamp. They want to see how much he can handle so that when training camp begins, it can be a competition. Bill loves Cam Newton, and I think that Mac Jones has to win by knockout over everybody. He has to knock out Stidham. It has to be clear, and he would have to knock out Cam, and Cam would have to be an impediment to the offense working well. But Mac Jones has not the door wide open, but it sure isn't slammed shut on him.
Well, look, Tom, I mean, we know the stories. You know them as well as anybody, that when Brady came trotting out on the field after Mo Lewis blew up Bledsoe, that, you know, we were all saying, well, that's the end of that. But many in New England were like, well, here comes a kid who had a better summer than anybody else. And so I totally believe that. But the reason why I kept on going to everybody but Mac Jones is that, you know, is this really going to be Belichick's umpteenth season, and he's just going to start the rookie and do the just like what everybody else is, the ups and downs with a rookie quarterback, which we're assuming it's going to be because the Brady stuff only happens once in a lifetime. But of course, it would be very Belichick in New England if it's the second one. But walk me through that.
Yeah, one awesome quote from that week after Brady leapfrogged Damon Heward to become number 2 during training camp.
Right.
Was Belichick standing up, and there was some reporters saying, how come you're not going to go to Heward here? He's got more experience. You spent $3 million to sign him as a backup. And Belichick said, look, I just don't think I'm going to be standing here every single week talking about all the things that Tom Brady did wrong. And that stuck with me forever, because it wasn't about he's going to rip it up, he's going to do things that Bledsoe can't. It was just, look, he's not going to poop his pants out there. And if Mac Jones can show that aptitude, I think it's still a less than 20% chance, probably less than 15% chance that he's starting the opener. Believe me, I'm not trying to overstate it. I'm just saying there is going to be competition. It's not an anointment the way Bill has kind of indicated. And I think that the reason he keeps saying Cam's the starter is because he understands there's a question as to whether or not Cam can be the starter, because there are limitations to what he can do in the passing game.
No, I love this. This is so fascinating. If this kid starts the first game,
it's a complete rewind to 20 years ago. This is the greatest beat in professional sports history.
It really is amazing, and just having a front row seat of seeing Belichick at the crossroads is a stupid word for it, but I don't know what is the word for it. It could be autumn. Reboot. What's the word for it?
Call it autumn. Yeah, the reboot, the autumn. I mean, I've called it. Look, he had a 1.0 dynasty, 2000 to 2009. He had a 2.0 dynasty, 2010 to 2019. And really, this is a 3.0. Can he reboot it again? You're exactly right.
Well, because we've not seen New England with a first-round drafted quarterback coming off of a free agency season in which they spent $160 million in ownership of a third-place schedule. I mean, it really is something we have not seen in the Belichick era in New England. And just seeing, does it seem to me, again, he does seem, I know he probably would blanch at the word revitalized, but this does seem to have energized him in a way.
He's into it, I think.
Right?
I think there was a fatigue with the Brady and Gronkowski thing. And look, Bill was spending second-round picks on Mohamed Sanu just to make sure you could milk everything. He was putting up with Josh Gordon and Antonio Brown and going to ownership and dealing with all that stuff because you just had to milk that cow as long as you could. And the cow's gone. It was a beautiful cow. It's elsewhere. Other people are getting the milk. But now he's got a new cow. these others are fresh.
I hear you.
I think that there's a lot to it that, it's different, it's new, his kids are with him. He's set for life in terms of his legacy and what he's doing. So I'm not saying he's doing it for, poops and giggles, but the heat is not necessarily on.
Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston. A few more minutes left with the Patriots Insider as the Patriots hold their mandatory minicamp. What happened with them and Julio Jones? Because that would have put him. We would be having, I think, a even more different conversation if he did cough up the two for Sanu. And I understand that was a totally different set of circumstances with Brady in a remaining window of opportunity. Why not this time around for either Cam or his kid that he might start week one based on what you're saying you're seeing or what they're seeing out of Mac Jones so far, first blush? What happened with Julio?
It's got to be the 15.3. The fact that Tennessee was willing to pay full freight, and then they've now mortgaged a little bit by having Tannehill redo his deal, so he's got a $41 million cap hit, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the kind of chaos that invites, and I think that Bill got out of that particular frying pan. Even though he spent all this money, Patriots still had like $16 million in cap space, and they're not going to be in a bad place, even though they spent all the money that they have. They're not going to be in a bad place in the next couple of years. Inviting in a 31-year-old wide receiver who'd be making 15.3, which is, and you already have Steph Gilmore with a cap hit of 16 and Dante Hightower with a cap hit of 12, and you'd be like, what are we doing? So I think if they weren't asking for someone to take full freight Atlanta and the entire contract, maybe the Patriots would have been players, but I think that everybody kind of backed off for that week except for Tennessee.
So before I let you go, and then we'll catch up during the summer, Tom, what is the real expectation here? What do you got for me? Like because this team could win a division if they get the right quarterback play. I mean, because the defense seems to be young and doing their job and knowing how to do your job, right? Like that it's that side of the ball that they, in terms of remaking and retooling, that they have to worry about the least, I would say. How real with the Bills now sitting astride this division with a Studley quarterback like Josh Allen? What do you got for me on that front?
The Patriots might have had anywhere between the 29th and 32nd most talented rosters in the NFL last year, and they still won 7 games. They had no tight ends. When I mean no tight ends, they had no tight ends to throw to. Their wide receivers is not a team in football who, especially once Edelman got hurt, that would have said, we'll take those guys, any of those guys. So they've now brought in 2 of the top 10 tight ends. They've brought in capable wide receivers. They've got a rookie quarterback. They have Trent Brown back to play tackle. They've improved with Matthew Judon. Dante Hightower's come back. Kyle Duggar is going to be a Pro Bowler at least. You have, if Gilmore comes back, and you have Henry Anderson up front. I mean, it's just they stacked their team. So this is an 11 or 12 win team, I think, Rich. And I had them at 8-8 last year. They're good. They're going to be good. They're going to be good.
What do you got for me before you want to leave, Brockman? You want to ask a question?
Yeah, Tom, I just want to ask you, like, from a fan's perspective, if Bill likes Mac Jones as well as it seems like he does, right? Why not just cut Cam now and, like, hand the reins over to the guy?
It's a great question. He likes him, but I think he loves Cam because Cam is actually, in many ways, representative of what Bill wants from Patriots players. Believe it or not. He is eating the financial poop sandwich with no bread. That's my third poop reference.
Nice.
With no bread throughout this. I mean, he's making $5 billion. He is showing up for everything. He is doing everything that Bill asks. And that's a great example. Additionally, I think that the chemistry and the karma of the team, karma not right, but just the overall chemistry of the team, these guys really are gravitating to Cam, even though he is limited. So I think Bill wants to let it play out, and he wants to give himself a fallback, because even if Mac Jones isn't ready, the one thing Cam can do is he can even things up because you play 11 on 11 with a running quarterback. So no reason to push all your chips onto the the Mac Jones number right now.
But isn't Mac Jones operating a different offense? I guess the more typical Brady run McDaniels offense than.
Well, yeah,
right?
We'll definitely have to see in camp what kind of stuff they're running. But I cannot imagine there's going to be many, read options that Mac Jones is running. Although Cam didn't do a lot of it either, and Mac Jones did do some of that at Alabama. So that's going to have to be TBD. But there is a different way of coaching that, and Bill talked about that a lot back in 2000 when Michael Bishop was here, and you have to split the reps so that everybody's getting stuff that makes them good and prepared. So it's absolutely worth watching, but it is too early to go lopping off Cam.
All right, Tom. Thanks for the call, man. Really appreciate it.
Have a great summer.
You got it. That's Tom
bud.
Curran. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.